I'm going to introduce our longtime friend here, Dr. Thomas Ho, who's Director of Technology from Traders Point Christian School. One of our favorites, doing really innovative thing. Dr. Thomas, you're on, but you're self-muted, and do you want me to give you a presenter screen? Well, good to have you. Would you like me to pass you the presenter screen?
Yeah, so then I can push my Chrome browser to the...
Yeah. Okay. Okay, there you go. Now you have the presenter screen. You just need to go to sharing and share.
Okay, I thought I could just push my app.
No, you have to go to sharing and share.
Okay.
Yeah.
My screen.
It's so interesting that we've had all different kinds of schools, public and private, and I almost feel like all of the animosities between types of schools are kind of over right now because everybody's dealing with the same alarming pandemic, and it's almost sort of brought everyone together. It's very interesting.
What screen are you seeing?
What if we can't? It says. Yeah, so we see it.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, we're good.
Okay, we're good. Okay, you go.
Okay, let's put the show on the road. Hey, that presentation we just had, boy, I got some sense of deja vu out of that. I heard a word I hadn't heard in a long time, learning object. Well,
yeah.
This is not going to be near as heavy.
Okay, good.
This is actually just going to be a little short story about what we've been through and what we're trying to do better. If there's another next time, what if we can't go back to school? Because last March, just like everybody else, we had to close down the building, and we did that for the rest of the school year. And only in August did we get back into the building. Somehow we survived that, but been working real hard to get ready just in case it happens again. And so I thought I'd share with you all some of the things that we've done to get ready for a time if we can't go back to school. So, as Leilani said, I'm for private Christian schools, a pretty big school. It's got over 600 students, but I'm the entire IT department. I'm a retired college professor, and I actually had retired from higher ed. I call myself a refugee from higher ed, and moved to Florida. But when my daughter got admitted to Purdue, I came back to, and as I say, I'm back home again in Indiana to qualify for in-state tuition. But it turns out that having been a Purdue faculty member for 15 years, I was well aware of how strict Purdue is about qualifying for in-state tuition. And basically, the Board of Trustees policy says that you have to have a predominant purpose other than education to qualify for in-state tuition. In other words, you can't just move to Indiana or buy property in Indiana and say, hey, give me in-state tuition. So the easiest way to fulfill that requirement is get a job, and you can certify to the register that you had to move for the job. So that's what I did. I went to the school that my daughter had attended, Traders Point Christian School, up until the time we left Indiana. And I said, I got a deal for you. I need a job. Just pay me what you can afford. And you don't have to pay me that much because the job alone is worth $20,000 a year to me, because that's the difference between in-state tuition and out-of-state tuition at Purdue. And that's how I came to be the entire IT department, Traders Point Christian Schools. going on 6 years now. And by the way, I'm trying to retire, so if anybody's looking for a new gig, let me know. Because if you want to go someplace where you really need it and would be really appreciated, have I got a deal for you? So anyway, as I said, what did we learn when we had to move to remote learning last spring? And what will we do if we have to do that all over again? And this is in the context of G Suite for Education, which I switched us over to about 5 years ago, using Google Classroom as our LMS, because that's all we can afford at this point, and also trying to leverage Clever as best we can. We don't leverage Clever near as much as we could because we use really at this point no premium apps. And so the only kind of things that we've really been pushing to the students with Clever have been things like Khan Academy that are free. And then more recently, our upper school has adopted Naviance to help students with the college admission. And so we're pushing Naviance to them via Clever as well. So probably the biggest change that we've made since we've come back to school is we have upgraded our G Suite for Education to an enterprise license. The enterprise license has a really good deal right now, which is still available. Apparently, you can put your whole school onto enterprise for $24 per year per staff member. And then for every staff license you buy, you get 10 student ones for free. And given that we've got a pretty nice teacher-student ratio, that works out for us. And the strongest motivation for upgrading to an enterprise license has been the Google Meet features, some of which were offered for free, like the recordings up until the end of September. And then also number of features, particularly for Google Meet, that have been added to G Suite, many of which are only available to schools that have enterprise licenses. So that includes the Meet recordings. They're still offering temporary recordings available for 30 days, but if you want to keep your Meet recordings for more than 30 days, you're going to need an enterprise license. And then just recently also, they've launched attendance reports. So the teachers get a report showing who actually attended the Meet. And then there's the Q&A feature, which is a great feature for student engagement because it gives the teacher the means of asking the students questions and the students answering questions. And I think also the students can do that with one another as well. And then I just got notice of the hand raise feature, which is currently being pushed out to domains that are on early release. And of course, that gives students the means to be able to raise their hand in a Google Meet to get the teacher's attention. Some of these features were offered by the folks who were able to create Chrome extensions during the time that we were all scrambling to try to harness Google Meet. And so it's been wonderful to see Google step up and add these features to Google Meet, because of course we get much better support for these features if they're part of G Suite than if they're being supported by some teacher who built an extension. for everybody else to use. And then now we have breakout rooms, which I guess Zoom had and Google Meet didn't have. And so we have breakout rooms as well. There are a couple other features that apparently are not available only to those with enterprise licenses. They are safety controls for meets, so the teacher can manage who can share the screen and also who can send chats. And so that gives the teacher a whole lot more ability to moderate a Google Meet than they had previously. And then also there was a grid view extension that enabled everybody to see more than just a handful of participants in a meet. And now that's part of the core offering, as well as background blur. One of the reasons why my camera's not on is not only that I not asked my wife to cut my hair, but also because I don't want you to see the mess behind me in my office.
You know, that is a terribly, terribly common comment, Dr. Ho. Yeah, we all started out with that. And the cat and the dog always like to get into the frame as well. Question for you before you go any further on this part. How many teachers do you have, and were any of them trained on any of this before?
Well, I mean, we have, let me think. I guess 50 teachers. As far as Google Meet's concerned, no, they really never used Google Meet previously. And I remember the last meeting we had all together as a group before we left the building for the rest of the school year was basically a meeting, an in-person meeting where we taught each other how to use Google Meet.
Well, yeah, well, because that's been my experience, is that the majority of teachers in America, and we all love them, but their first introduction to any sort of digital thing was, you know, the old green screen take attendance computer interface that otherwise they didn't touch. It sort of collected dust on their in sort of a side desk they had, or smart boards, like interactive whiteboards, right? And that was about it. And then iPads came out, and a lot of teachers, like tons. My mother-in-law, who worked for Fresno School or Clovis School District in California for many, many years, big iPad user market, right? So they were used to, like, you know, apps and big fat buttons on screens. And so now we're talking about actually using Word documents was alien to this huge market of teachers, whereas in corporate America, we've been using documents and spreadsheets and PowerPoint for 25 years.
Well, fortunately, a lot of the other G Suite features they were familiar with already. It was just the Meet that was a new game in town for them.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm done bugging you about this. I'm gonna let you continue on.
Yeah, okay. Well, moving on to Clever. So for those of you who don't know Clever, it's that name because it's clever. And basically what Clever is a service that allows us to make third-party applications available to teachers and to students using their G Suite identity. So the beauty of it is they don't have to have one more username, one more password. And particularly for a school like mine, the business model of Clever is wonderful because Clever is free. Because basically the way it works is the vendors of the third-party apps pay Clever. And so that's how Clever makes it available to the schools for free. And that's why it's primarily only premium apps that are available on Clever, except for Khan Academy, for example, what's the name? Code.org also is available on Clever. So one of the features of Clever that I have been pushing even more and more since all this happened has been a feature called Teacher Pages. And what a teacher page is, it's a collection of resources that a teacher can make available to the teacher's students. And so basically, if let's say you don't want to put them in your Google Classroom, but you want to put them where they don't have to go figuring out, oh, which classroom is it in, you could put it on your teacher page. And so that's a feature that I'm hoping more and more of the teachers will start taking advantage of. And then one of the ways in which Clever really stepped up since the parents have had to become a lot more proactive in their children's learning, Clever has launched a feature called Family Portal, which makes it possible for the parent to get access to basically what you might think of as teacher pages for the parent. And I'm looking forward especially to some other features of Family Portal that will actually give the parents even more insight into what their students are doing on Clever. But right now, the initial version of Family Portal provides only some very rudimentary access, particularly, for example, so the parent can quickly go to a place where they could find resources to help their student figure out how to log on and things like that. Now, we just took delivery on another tool with which we don't have a lot of experience yet, and that's this gizmo called a swivel. What it is, it's a camera on a mount that would enable the camera to track the teacher as the teacher moves around the classroom. And so at this point, all I know is what it can do. I'm not exactly sure how the principal and the teachers plan on using it, but one of the ways that certainly Swivel envisions it being used is as a way of making it possible for a sick or a homebound student to be in the classroom the way the students in the classroom are. And for example, we have some students who have opted not to come to school. And so I imagine that that's intended primarily for their sake, as well as obviously any student that's going to have to be quarantined if it comes to that without having to close the entire school down. The teacher could also record a lesson using Swivel, and that would be the means of flipping a classroom so that then the teacher could then become his or her own teaching assistant to help the students, while the students, of course, have already viewed the flipped lesson. I don't know that you need a Swivel to do that. I mean, certainly if you have an enterprise license for G Suite, you could record yourself on Google Meet and you'd be able to keep those flip lessons for as long as you want, and not just the 30-day temporary recordings that are currently available for those who don't yet have an enterprise license. So it still remains to be seen how much value this is going to add. Like I said, I deployed it because the head of school decided he wanted to buy it, and we'll see what the principals and the teachers end up doing with it. And so that brings me to some of the lessons that at least I've learned in the last 6 months. it's been really difficult for a person like me, who's sort of the IT manager, um, and then trying to be uh, a tech coach, and who knows how many other hats I have to wear. And so I've been struggling with, especially if you look at all these new features on Meet. I've been struggling with, how to bring the teachers up to speed so that they can use them. And I've been struggling because Google keeps pushing all these features out, and I have to keep track of what these features are and when they're going to become available, and then finally when they're finally deployed, uh, you know, to our domain, etc. And so it's been a real struggle trying to keep the teachers up to speed, and that's been exacerbated because the administrators, and of course, in a school like mine, you don't have a lot of administrators, and so they're a principal, for example, wears so many hats just like I do. And so, I haven't really gotten all the, oh, how shall we say, the requirement statement from the administrators that I need to be able to provide the features and functionality to make their teachers' lives easier. So um, that's always been a problem for folks in technology and curriculum directors, etc., and especially for teachers to get input. And of course, that's been exacerbated by this current situation, and that's not news to any of you. And then finally, also the families out there. Uh, they've had just so much thrown at them, and at this point, uh, that's why I'm looking forward to functionality of things like the family portal in Clever to hopefully make the families' lives just a little bit easier. So as I wrap up, I just want to tell you folks things that you already know, but just remind you. Okay, it's for certain we're going to have to adapt again. I'm not optimistic, simply because here in Indiana, as elsewhere in the Midwest, the positivity rate's going up, and I'm really concerned because there's a lot of community spread, and we know what happens when community spread goes up. It makes it harder for schools to stay open. So we're going to have to be ready again, I'm afraid, especially with winter coming. And well, we're readier than we were last spring, but it's still a question, are we ready? And it's I'm making predictions here, I know, okay, but I think it's pretty clear, that probably things are going to get worse before they get better until we get a vaccine, for example. So, along with you, we've all still got a lot to learn. And if you want to share any of what you've learned, feel free to contact me. And I'll keep trying to share with you all. Unfortunately, believe it or not, since August, my Twitter's been suspended. Otherwise, I'd encourage you to follow me at Dr. Thomas Ho. And I cannot get Twitter to respond. They won't tell me what I did wrong. They won't unsuspend me. And it's been quite a journey, and it's not over yet.
I understand.
Anyhow.
Well, Well,
especially when you're
we're
Twitter
not the
centric like
only
I am. Yeah, especially when you're
one.
Twitter centric like I am. I
Yeah.
mean, I've been on, since 2007.
Well, Dr. Ho, that's neutral ground is now there in nostory.com. That's why we're building it. I
Okay.
do realize our mobile app side is not up. It is mobile ready,
Uh-huh.
but it's really a website. The
Okay.
the whole it's being built on Go in the development side, which is different than our Python backend in No Story itself. But the Go platform is not done yet. But you can use No Story.
Okay.
Yeah, use nostory.com. So let's talk a little bit about the most exciting thing that you said. I'm sure a lot of other people were electrified is your use of swivel. We've been hearing a lot about this because there are a lot of schools that
Yeah,
want to have teachers do both, as crazy as that seems to
I
me,
know. I
Dr.
know.
Ho, because it's
I
like
know.
I don't even remember where I'm supposed to be half the time. So being on video and then also, uh, you know, live teaching, that's kind of wild. So yeah, we're going to come back to you about that.
Yeah,
Don't-
give us still partway through next semester, and we'll
Okay.
have a lot more firsthand experience under our belt.
Okay.
Um, I warn you, it's also a little expensive too.
Yeah, we've
At
heard
least
that
it seems
too.
to
We've
me.
heard
It
that too.
seems to me it's a little expensive. We looked for some other solution that wasn't quite so pricey, but the nice thing about Swivel is obviously we can get support for it. It's not something that we have to cobble together. I mean, remember, I'm the entire
Yeah, you're the
IT
whole
department.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're the whole thing. You're the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, actually, we do have a managed service provider, so they take care of the whole Windows side of things for for us. But I do all the G Suite administration, and I used to manage all the one-to-one Chromebooks, although we've gotten out of that business and we're pretty much now, what do you call, BYOD from 7th to 12th grade. So I just have to take care of carts now down in the lower grades.
I understand. Well, that just tells me how valuable your time has been today. So I want to graciously thank you so very much for sharing out today. It was awesome. I love some of the advices, especially that you gave at the end. And Dr. Thomaso, thank you. We're going to put you on mute for now and bring in our next speakers.
Okay, talk to you later.
Hi, I'm Tice Miller, founder and CEO of Mobilemind. Mobilemind is the modern professional learning hub that's designed to enable every single teacher to effectively integrate technology like Google into their instruction. In 2015, I started this company to solve the biggest challenge stemming from mobile and cloud technologies hitting the classroom, and that's the lack of adoption by teachers. The traditional means of professional development were falling short in the face of the complexity and the pace of change of all this new tech, and PD suddenly required a new approach. So we partnered with Google. We spent 3 years doing research and development on how to best address this new and growing issue. Today, Mobilemind solves the biggest failure points that prevent teachers from the effective use of G Suite tools, which can negatively affect student outcomes. And some of these include lack of teacher buy-in, no personalization, no time for PD, and now more than ever, the need for accessibility to PD anytime, anywhere. So most districts have accepted that the majority of their teachers weren't completely leveraging their instructional tech tools. And the current pandemic has further exposed this reality. And the new normal means we must ensure all teachers are comfortable with using technology, whether they're in class or remote. Before I show you a short video, let me say this. Mobilemind's not like anything that you've seen before. This is not traditional online learning that teachers don't enjoy. We have taken methodologies such as SAMR and activity-based learning with personalized feedback and infused them into the most innovative cloud-based learning solution. So please contact us for a live demonstration of Mobilemind and learn how we're impacting schools and districts all over the country. Thanks so much and take care.
Google's G Suite and Chromebook one-to-one programs are revolutionizing education like never before. But despite many benefits for teachers, schools, and students, most schools are falling short of their implementation initiatives due to a lack of effective professional development. But how do you effectively cater to teachers with different technological skill levels, learning styles, and schedules? Designed specifically for Google use in K-12, Mobilemind solves these challenges by developing the modern professional learning hub for schools that is personalized, practical, and incredibly convenient for educators. Unlike traditional professional development, Mobilemind is cloud-based, so teachers are able to learn at their own pace whenever they have time in their schedule right from our Chrome extension. And since content is broken down into micro-courses with practical applications, progress can be made minutes at a time instead of committing to hours per session. Mobilemind is tailored for individual users, accounting for skill level and previous knowledge to challenge each educator appropriately. Learners demonstrate competency by completing performance-based Google challenges and receive ongoing individualized feedback from Mobilemind's team of certified educators. Finally, Mobilemind's data and reporting allows teachers to view their individual progress while providing schools and district leaders with the key metrics they need to evaluate the impact of virtual professional development throughout their district. Mobilemind's combination of cloud-based learning and tailored microcourses results in an average increase of 362% in the use of Google in educators' day-to-day teaching. Visit us at mobilemind.io and request a consultation and demonstration of our innovative professional learning solution.